Welcome. It is Saturday afternoon. It is the divisional round of the NFL playoffs starting today at 4:30. You can catch the first game. It is going to be the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Houston Texans will be on ASPN, ABC, and ESPN Plus. Check it out on all those platforms. And that's right where we're going to start. It's an exciting weekend. You've got 4 games. You've got 2 today, Saturday, January 18th, and 2 tomorrow. Sunday, January 19th, with both night games being the best of the 4 games. But let's start with Houston going to Kansas City in what generally, as Miami found out last year, is generally the worst atmosphere you could possibly be in. Here's the thing. Last year was like negative 5,000 degrees. Fans out there naked, catching frostbite, cutting their, fingers off to save heat. Tonight it's going to be, or today, this afternoon, it's going to be 25 degrees. But that's cold. The wind's going to be blowing at Arrowhead. It's going to be just a completely different environment than Houston's dealing with because they play in the AFC South. They have Jacksonville. They have Indianapolis, who has a dome. They themselves have a dome. Tennessee is the only outdoor stadium that's, farther north and could be cold. Nashville gets a little chilly, I believe, in the late parts of the NFL season. So you're going to find out how Stroud handles this. Look, they finished the season with a 10-7 record. They win it last week. They win it last week and surprised the Los Angeles Chargers. But let's be real here, folks. Kansas City's almost a 10-point favorite. The over-under is 42.5. And you really have to do something to stop this offense, stop Andy Reid, to stop the great Patrick Mahomes. And I just don't think Houston has it. C.J. Stroud's not the quarterback of last year. He's just not what he was. And with Joe Mixon being questionable, you don't know how much he's going to hurt you. Not having him or having him, even if he's healthy to play, is he healthy enough to be a force? We just don't know. So we will see. But let's get right down to the nuts and bolts of this thing. Here's the deal. Patrick Mahomes comes in. Last game was a loss. They're going to avenge that. Didn't play anybody. He's 15-1 on the season. They're going to handle their business. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't see where Houston has anything to stop them. They're in their environment. They're going to have their fans who've been there since 8 o'clock this morning, tailgating, hammer time in Kansas City. You're just not getting anything from Houston that says, man, they might be a betting favorite. I'll be honest with you. They're not a betting favorite to cover. This game's going to be a 2-touchdown game, maybe 3-touchdown game. I just don't think C.J. Stroud gets it done. 25-degree temperatures, not going to work out well for him. We will see. I just don't think he gets the job done. This game is fairly easy for me. I'm taking KC 27, and C.J. Stroud and boys in Houston are going to score 6 points. I just think 27-6. I think it's an all-out blitz from Kansas City all day long. I don't think Houston knows how to deal with it. And that's it just is what it is. I mean, you look at the game, you look at the teams. I mean, ESPN doesn't think they can win. They got a 62.7% chance to win in Kansas City. I think that's low. I think they should be closer to 75. At the end of the day, you can't go to Kansas City and win in this temperature. It just doesn't work out too well for anybody, as everybody has found out, whether it's Buffalo, whether it's Miami, whether it's Baltimore, whether it's Houston. These teams already know that going there is no way to win. You have to get the number 1 seed or hope that Kansas City only gets a wild card. And let's be honest, even though Denver and the Chargers made the playoffs this year, Kansas City's not losing that 1 seed. It's just not going to happen for them. I think it's sad that anybody thinks it is. I just don't know what you do there. You can't wear heat gear, warming up jackets and stuff on the field, and it's going to be butt cold. It's going to be, 14 degrees is what the field is going to be. So we'll see. But again, Kansas City over Houston, 27-6. I think that's the easy game. Kansas City has the bye. Houston did a great job last week. And surprised me. I really didn't think they'd win that game, but, they did. But let's move on to the nightcap. All right. The first game, easy to call. This game, 15-2, 12-5. Washington Commanders, rookie quarterback, rookie head coach. Well, first-year head coach for them. But a coach that's been through the playoffs, been to the Super Bowl, granted, gave up the biggest lead ever to lose the game. But they're going against a mirror image. The Detroit Lions and the Washington Commanders go for it on fourth down like nobody's business. They're both fighters. They both want to win. They're competitive. But let's break it down a little bit deeper than that. The coaches are both very not rah-rah Pete Carroll coaches, but they're both very hard-nosed, love you like a son, love you like a brother. We got a job to do. Let's get it done. Let's fight. I'm going to put my faith in you guys type coaches. Not me, not this guy, this guy. No, the team is thought of as a family. What Dan Quinn has been able to do in D.C., what Dan Campbell has been able to do in Detroit, just take two franchises who one franchise has been horrible forever, and one franchise has been horrible the last 30 years. You take them and you make them better. You give them the culture that they need, the wake-up call they need. Hey, this is how we're going to play football. Yeah, there's still deficiencies on both sides of the ball for both teams. Not that many for Detroit, but for Washington, of course, there is. But being an 8.5-point dog in this game, it got up to 10 at one point. I just don't see where Vegas is seeing that. I really think that Dan Quinn's going to have this team ready. I think Jaden Daniels is the most calm, cool, collective kid on the street. Jared Goff is a great quarterback in this system. Jared Goff doesn't have the movement that Jaden Daniels does in that regard, but they still are very good at their job, what they are supposed to do, not what we think they should do, but what they are supposed to do. They are very good at it. If you look at the receivers, Jaden has Terry McLaurin and a handful of secondaries. Ramon St. Brown and Jameson Williams played for Detroit, and Jared Goff abuses them. He also has Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield. And Jaden Daniels has Austin Eckler out of the backfield. So if you look at the weapons, Detroit wins the weapons game. But don't think Washington doesn't have some threats there. You got Zach Ertz at tight end. But get to running backs, it's not a contest. Detroit owns the running back room between Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I'm just absolutely awesome. All this stuff is very easy to say Detroit's going to win the game. Commanders have 3 losses away. You can look at all the stats, folks. Look at all the stats. There's no reason that Washington goes into Detroit and wins. Detroit hasn't been here ever. Detroit has never hosted as a number 1 seed. Detroit has never hosted an NFC championship game, and that's what they're fighting for. All the pressure's on them. Everybody knows that if you're a Commanders fan or if you have watched the Washington football team or the Washington Redskins, you know that for the last 30 years they've been horrible. They've had horrible coaching. They've had horrible ownership. This is the turning point, but they're playing with house money. They're not playing for anything except to go out there and do the best they can do and have fun. Detroit's actually carrying a city that has had bad sports teams with the exception of the Red Wings, in which really they haven't been good in years, and the Pistons haven't been good in years. And the Tigers have got a World Series. They haven't been great in the last couple of years. But if we look at what we care about, and they've got the University of Michigan just won national title, but we look at what we care about, NFL dominates. When you go to the water cooler, the NFL dominates. That's what everybody wants to see. They want to talk about. What are the Lions doing? What was Barry Sanders doing years ago? Tell you what, Barry Sanders didn't run like Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery, not combined. They're just beasts. Nobody wants to talk about the Pistons or the Red Wings or University of Michigan or the Detroit Tigers. They want to talk about the Lions, and the Lions have done squat. So they're fighting for something. The pressure's on them. If Washington wins, it's just another notch in their cap of the dream season they're having. If Detroit loses, it is, well, we can't get it done. Then there are going to be questions about Jared Goff. Then there will be questions about Dan Campbell. And there really shouldn't be questions. You're 15-2. You handle the division very well, but you can't beat the Commanders. You can't beat this. You can't beat that. You can't do this. What happened? You blew a 24-7 lead at halftime in last year's NFC Championship game in San Francisco. What can you do in this game? Divisional round against a 6 seed, you couldn't win. Very damaging to Dan Campbell. Very damaging to Jared Goff if he can't pull it through. I mean, if something odd happens, well, then we're talking a different story. But the Commanders are cardiac arrest teams, man. They beat teams in the last 2 minutes of football games. That's what they do. That's their MO this season. Detroit just has to get up and stay in the lead, and keep the lead big enough to where they can't catch you in the last 2 minutes, and it should be fine. On the other side of the football, why not them? Why not the Commanders? Nobody expected them to beat Tampa Bay. Nobody expected them to beat the Eagles a couple weeks ago. Nobody expected them to handle Dallas a couple weeks ago, the Atlanta Falcons. They've done what they needed to do to get the 6th seed, to be over top of Green Bay, to get the 6th seed. They've earned the right to be here. Granted, they haven't played the hardest schedule in the land, but Jaden Daniels, win, lose, or draw, has been the most calm quarterback in the league as a rookie. He runs the ball like a running back. He plays quarterback like a seasoned pro. And I'll be honest with you, the team has done enough to win the games, whether it's defensively, offensively, running back wise, receiver wise. They've made the plays when they need to make them. Against Pittsburgh, they were 1 yard away from having a chance to beat Pittsburgh. This is a hard game to predict because everybody wants to jump on the Lions and be like, yes, they're going to win. They're going to win by 10. They're going to win by 15, whatever, blah, blah, blah. If it gets in a track meet, there's going to be a problem. The Commanders are going to run out of gas. They don't have the defense to handle that quick turnaround. But if this is a tight game, say 24-27, somewhere in there with 2 minutes to go and the Redskins have the ball, they're going to win the game. They just get the job done. Offensively, Detroit's a powerhouse. Defensively, the Commanders have problems on the front line. The Commanders have problems in the backfield, or in the defensive backfield. But where they do not struggle is the linebacker play. From Frankie Louvu and Wagner, you let them guys get going, things can happen. Defensively, if Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne step it up and get the run stop on the inside, if they get to Goff, if the outside guys can get to Goff, if the ends can get to Goff, there's going to be a problem. He cannot move. He's not a statue. He's not Kirk Cousins, but he can't move. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do defensively to trick up Detroit, because Detroit has got everything covered. They've got 2 of the best receivers, 2 of the best running backs, and one of the best quarterbacks. Just he's not mobile, and that's okay if you have all these weapons. But I really think the Commanders have a chance to win. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to pick them. I think they're going to win the game by 3 points. I think it's going to come down to the last play of the game. I think it's going to be 24-28. And it's going to end up being 31-28 when it's all said and done, Commanders. The biggest fear that any Commander fan has is if Ramon St. Brown or Jameson Williams catches 2 touchdowns in the first half, because then you're screwed. You can't go into halftime trailing with them, both receivers having touchdowns, because then the running game comes into effect. And now you got to stop that. Now what do? You can't put 8 in the box anymore. You got to put 7. You're probably going to hang 2 high safeties. And then you're going to have the cornerbacks playing man-to-man. And if Lattimore's got to cover one, who's covering the other? The cornerback play hasn't been great. But you're going to need help over top. Now, you can't put a linebacker on these speed guys. You can probably put a linebacker on a bigger guy. But your linebackers got to face the running backs. Jahmyr Gibbs out of the backfield is just like a regular receiver. He's unbelievable. You don't want to mess with him. But I still think the Commanders get the job done. Like I said, 31-28. They did a good job last week of beating Tampa Bay, getting it done. You got the OCD kicker comes in and blasts it through the post, and it falls in to the bucket. And trust me, as someone who's lived near DC for years, who has a best friend that's a Commanders fan, who listens to a show about the Commanders, a local radio show, I can tell you that all the hearts of any Washington Commanders fan was just broken when that thing was tracking towards the field goal post. And it hits it and scurries in, and all their hearts and tears and joy and laughter return to their bodies as they had won a playoff game and are moving on to the divisional round. The hard part about this game is, as much as I want Washington to win, Jaden Daniels, JD5, Brian Robinson, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, those guys that played for Alabama. Jaden Daniels is a rookie quarterback. Just been through so much. I enjoy listening to these guys on the radio talk. I enjoy listening to them. You want them to win for that reason. What you don't want is for either team to lose. I mean, talk about a franchise. The Detroit Lions have never been to or never won a Super Bowl. They've never hosted an NFC Championship game. They've got a coach that you can't not love the coach. They've got the best offense in the league by far. If you look at their weapons, I don't think anybody matches up, not even close, not even 50% of what they've got. You've got two number ones in receivers, and you've got two number one backs who split time. Jahmyr Gibbs is by far one of the best players on the field when he steps on it. And then you follow that up with David Montgomery coming in, who is the starter at running back, but we'll see what happens tonight being he's just coming back from injury. You've got Myron St. Brown, who is just lighting up people left and right. And Jameson Williams, who's coming to his own, is one of the best receivers in the league, who also played at the University of Alabama. So, with that being said, it's hard to root against either team. This is going to be, for anybody that loves football and loves the game of football and is not an NFC North or an NFC East fan outside of these two teams, it's going to be tough to watch it. Now, I'm sure the fan bases want to see their team win. I agree with that. That'd be stupid to say. So go Commandos and go Lions for both those fan bases. But for the people at home, let's just hope for a good game and it comes down to the final minute. And one of these teams, yes, will go home heartbroken, but less so for the Commanders. In that regard, that's why I would root for Detroit. Washington's got a plan ahead. Jared Goff might not be the plan ahead for the Lions. I don't know where you would go. You might want a mobile quarterback who can throw a little bit, but there are no options out there really to pick up. So Jared Goff is your best bet, but a loss for them is just demoralizing. The number one seed losing to the sixth seed. Number one seeds have made it to the Super Bowl, even before the playoff added all these new teams, over 50% of the time. Let's hope the team that wins this game goes to the Super Bowl. And if it is the Washington Commandos, I will lose one half of my Super Bowl pick because I have Detroit and Baltimore going to the Super Bowl, and I think that is a good choice looking ahead. Both teams are playing lights out, and we're going to find out what happens tonight at 8 o'clock. Washington Commanders 31, Detroit Lions 28, in what should be a great game. Washington covers the spread, and they get the points. They hit the over. Now, we're going to move to Sunday. So right now, let's recap. We got Kansas City 27, Houston 6 in a blowout. We've got Washington 31 and Detroit 28, and that's a little bit more of a heart pick. I really think Detroit possibly could hang 45, but we're going to stick with the 31-28. Go Commandos. Moving on to Sunday, you've got the LA Rams, who didn't have a home playoff game, traveling to the Philadelphia Eagles, the number 2 seed, who did have a home game. Look, the bottom line is this. They've already pounded them once in the season. Saquon Barkley had 255 yards against them in the first game. A.J. Brown is reading books about how to get better on the sideline when you're already a top 3 receiver in the league. I hate to say it, folks, but the Rams have zero chance. Now, they're healthy. They're back. They got a lot to fight for with the L.A. Fires, but the Eagles are just too daggone good. The Eagles are way too good to get beat right now. I think the hard part about this game, people want to look at it and they're going to be like, well, yeah, the Eagles are playing great, but there is no but. The Rams are traveling to a stadium that's full of mean people, that's full of fans that hate the opposing team, no matter who it is. The Rams are traveling to a place that's going to be a little bit chilly, and I just don't think they get it done. We're going to take the Eagles in this game. This game is going to be a higher scoring game than any other this weekend, I believe. Even with Baltimore and Buffalo playing each other, we know that Josh Allen can score a lot of points, as can the Baltimore Ravens behind Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and Zay Flowers. But here's what we're going to do in this Philadelphia Eagles Los Angeles Rams game. It's going to start out slow. The first half might be 17-10, might be 14-10. But in the second half, we're looking at a possible 41-34, 75-point game. The Philadelphia Eagles are a 6.5-point favorite right now. The over-under is 42.5. They are going to blow that number out the water. Barring any injury, they're going to blow it out the water. Saquon might have another 200 yards. I just don't see how anybody's going to beat Philly until we get to the NFC Championship game. Didn't matter who this team was that came in to face them. Philadelphia is going to light them up at home. If Detroit wins and Philly has to go there, well, that's going to be it for the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. Detroit, whoever wins the Washington Detroit game is most likely going to win the NFC Championship game. And quite frankly, I hope it's Washington, but I'll take Detroit too. I've been on them all season. I'm riding the heart pick with Washington. So Philadelphia, 41. Los Angeles Rams, 34. 75 points will clear the total. Give it an alternate total. I'm telling you, it's going to be up there. It's going to be way up there. Philadelphia covers the 6.5 with a 7-point win. And now we move to the finale. The Baltimore Ravens of Baltimore move up in a bus, a plane, who knows what, to take on the Buffalo Bills. Here's the thing. The Buffalo Bills are the Buffalo Bills. 0-4. I'll say it again for those listening. 0-4. That's how many Super Bowls they've been to, and the 0 is how many they've won. Buffalo will not make it to this year's Super Bowl as they are going to lose against the Baltimore Ravens, who are firing on all cylinders, whose defense has gotten better week after week. And I'm sorry, but the Bills have got to stop relying on Josh Allen, Star-Lord, to take over games and win them for them. Everybody made a big thing. Oh, well, he doesn't need Diggs, and he doesn't need – guess what? He is not a lone wolf. He needs a team around him. He can have all the great quarterback play he wants, but he needs a team. He needs weapons. He needs a defense. Lamar Jackson's got it all. Zay Flowers on the outside. Derrick Henry behind him. His legs. He's got a defense ready to chomp at the bit. I'm telling you, Baltimore handles this well. The spread is Buffalo -1. The over-under is 51.5. 51.5 is going to get blown out. -1, give me that on Baltimore all day long. Give me Baltimore -6. Give me Baltimore -6. 38-31. Baltimore comes away with the win in a great game to finish off the weekend. Sunday evening at 6:30. Give me that game all day long. I'll take it. I'll take that, and I'll take more. The biggest thing about this game right here is that Lamar Jackson is tired of hearing all the crap. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. And he finishes it this season. He takes them to a Super Bowl, and then we're just going to have a game. We're going to see what happens between Detroit and Baltimore in the Super Bowl. But the biggest thing is that he's got to get there. And I think he knows that, and that's what he's going to do. Should he be the MVP? Probably not. Josh Allen is the most valuable player for his team. Without him, it doesn't get done. It's not Patrick Mahomes this year. You could argue Jaden Daniels for the Commanders. But Lamar Jackson has a team around him. Could he have done this with a lesser running back and maybe not Zay Flowers? Could he have done this on the Bills? That's the way I look at it. Could this person do this on another team? And the answer is I just don't think he could do what the Bills have done. He's got 5 losses. You know, the Bills have 4. Josh Allen doesn't have to win this game to win the MVP. Lamar Jackson does. And that's a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, but I think Lamar Jackson has to win to get it. I really do. I just don't think he has enough in his tank otherwise. Listen, it's going to be 17 degrees in Orchard Park, but, you know, Lamar's played in cold temperatures before. He's going to be okay. He really is going to be okay. You know, the problem is tonight, the biggest thing is Zay Flowers is probably doubtful. What do you do without him? I don't know. But they're going to find out tomorrow. Hopefully he can turn the corner and come back. You got Derrick Henry versus Cook. You got Allen versus Jackson. And you got Shakir versus Flowers. Honestly, I want to see a great game, but I want Baltimore to come out on top. I want Baltimore to come out top. That's who I'm rooting for. That's my rooting interest. If I have to root for the Bills, I'm going to root for Sawyer's Warriors. She was a big Bills fan. Her mom's part of Bills Mafia. Sawyer was a great child. Um, she dealt with childhood cancer and passed away a few years ago. But let me tell you something: the spirit lives on in Sawyer Warriors and big Bills fans. And so if we're gonna pull for them, we'll pull for them for that reason. But I want Baltimore to win. But if the Bills win, that's okay. We can do it for Sawyer. But just wanted to shout out her for a minute because I know that's a big thing with Bills Mafia, those that have been touched by that. So listen, the night games this weekend are going to be amazing. I really think Washington Detroit is one that could be a really great game, even though it doesn't say so. It doesn't look like it. Everybody's picking Detroit. I think Baltimore and Buffalo, another great game, could come down to the wire. Could be a lot of points being scored. I just think Kansas City handles their business, and the Rams might play catch up with Philly, but Philly's going to do what they need to do to get the job done. Again, they're going to win. They're going to handle their business. Again, let's go over these one more time. We've got Houston with 6, Kansas City 27. We got Washington 31, 28 over Detroit. The Rams are going to score 31 points, and the Philadelphia Eagles are going to score 38. And we've got Baltimore. We got Baltimore 38, Buffalo 31, and the Rams and Philly are 34-41 in that 75-point outing. Look, at the end of the day, you couldn't ask for two better championship games. I mean, nobody, if Houston plays balls out, I'd like to see him in the championship game against Baltimore or Buffalo. But Kansas City, Baltimore gets a revenge game from last year. You got Washington versus the Eagles. They've played 3 times. They're 1-1. Great game. Jalen Hurts plays the whole game against them. It might be a different story than it was a few weeks ago. But what a great story for Washington. Those two, the 2-night games, I really don't care who wins. I have no rooting interest in the last 4 games anyway. My team, the Dolphins, is out there horrible. We got receivers wanting to leave. We got Tua Tagovailoa doing commercials for crap I don't even know about. But at the end of the day, my team's out. So any team that comes through, I don't want to see Kansas City win again. And it's not for that. I just don't like the team atmosphere they're putting out these days. Wouldn't mind seeing Matt Stafford get another Super Bowl. Just don't think he can get it done against Philadelphia. Don't want the Bills to win the Super Bowl, but if they beat Baltimore, okay. But I really think this year is their year. In Washington or Detroit, root for either of those teams. Let's see what happens. Guys, the crazy thing is this weekend we'll give you a couple bold predictions in the games. In the 4 slated games, you will have a blocked field goal. You will have a safety. You will have a defensive touchdown. And most importantly, you will have over 9.5 passing touchdowns in the 4 games. That's over 2 a game. I know that's not a lot, but I'm telling you, you look at the games. There's going to be a lot of passing touchdowns, even in the cold weather, as 3 out of the 4 games are played in bitterness. Again, 17 degrees in Buffalo tomorrow night. Washington and Detroit have the only 72-degree stadium, and it should as EB says, let Jaden cook. Should allow that to happen, but it also allows Jared Goff to sit back in the pocket and not worry about the frigid cold and getting smacked around. But we will see. For those of you joining and watching on the telecast, make sure you check out the college football one, as I had my favorite Ohio State hat, as you can see it here. My little add-on to the hat as we spoke with Greg. That episode will be out Monday morning for you to listen to and get ready for the national championship. I hope everybody is having a good weekend. I hope everybody enjoys the cold weather that's sweeping the nation right now. This is the Up and Running Pod with your divisional round playoff wrap-up. Next week, we have the championship games at Bama Kirk on Twitter, at Bama Kirk 20, at Bama Kirk 46 on X, at Bama Kirk 46 on TikTok, at Up and Running Pod. Peace.